Okay, everyone, it's 1:30, so I'd like to call to order. Town clerk, if you could take the roll.
Commissioner Goldberg. Commissioner
Hey,
Peters.
everyone, it's 1:30, so I'd like to call to order. Town clerk, if you could take the roll.
Commissioner Goldberg.
Present.
Commissioner
Hey,
Peters.
everyone, it's one.
Present.
It's 10:30.
We're good.
Okay. Commissioner David,
Present.
Mayor Moore,
Present.
Town Manager Labadie,
Present.
and Town Attorney Tricivia.
Present.
Thank you. And if, just a reminder, if you could please silence your phones. Next is the Pledge of Allegiance. If we could all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Thank you for everyone joining us this afternoon. Any public comments? Fred.
Hello, everyone. I'm Fred Rosen from Braemar Isle, Boca Highland. I had some thoughts, and unfortunately, sadly, out of the past 5 years, we've lost 2 mayors through leaving office due to death. And we are about to appoint somebody as vice mayor of the commission. I'm happy about our 2 new commissioners. I think you guys will be great. What's going through my mind as a resident of the town is, unfortunately, 50% of this commission is totally inexperienced as of now. Unfortunately, you guys have not even had 1 day to govern. So we have 2 commissioners. We have our new mayor, who I think will do a great job, and we've got Evelyn, who's had years of experience and been involved in every decision that's been made. Now we have 6 applicants at a time where we have residents that have blogs and hundreds of emails that want their input known to everybody. I think that we need 3 out of the 5 commissioners with experience. I think it's dangerous to have the majority of a commission having no chance to govern and go right into a situation where we're going into things like the new firehouse and every other thing that's happening in the town, including A1A. So I am urging the commission to vote for one of the 2 candidates that has experience. I mean, David has financial experience, experience in executive areas, as does John. And John's been in the commission for 3 years. We have another election coming up a year from now. At that time, our commissioners will have vast experience. You guys will have what you need on this commission, and we will elect somebody new as a vice mayor. But until that time, we need experience. So please go with experience. And this is no disparagement to the other candidates that are there. Have no issue with that at all. I'm just nervous about a majority of a commission never having a day to govern. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Okay, there were several public comments that were submitted and are included as part of the agenda packet. So for reference, you may look at that packet. All right, the next item on the agenda, item number 5, appointing the vice mayor to the mayor commissioner. So this is basically a resolution. So I'll just read the caption. Resolution number 2023-008. A resolution to the Town Commission of the Town of Highland Beach, Florida, appointing the vice mayor commissioner as the mayor commissioner until the next general election and providing for an effective date. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion appointing the vice mayor to mayor, resolution number 2023-008.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Do we need a roll call or is that enough? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, item number 6. Commission interview applicants. And I thought we would take a minute to just discuss the process as to how we will move forward with this. I would suggest that we do the same approach that we had done in the past, seemed to work pretty well. And that is that the candidates would present themselves in alphabetical order and that they would get a maximum of 15 minutes for their presentation. And then each of us would have the opportunity to ask any follow-up questions as we see fit. And then once each candidate has had their turn, we have a piece of paper where we would indicate one candidate who we would choose to fill that vacancy, only one. And so then we would hand in the pieces of paper to the town clerk and she would tally the results. And if a candidate receives the majority of votes, that candidate would be appointed to the position. If there is no majority, we would discuss the vote and then take another vote. And we would continue that until we achieve majority. Any comments? Are you guys in agreement? Okay,
Yeah,
Sounds good.
yes, in agreement. It worked very well when we did that.
perfect. Yeah, I agree. Okay, terrific. Well, with that, we move on to the first applicant. So we're doing it by alphabetical order. So would Mr. Babarosh please come to that? Hello. Please introduce yourself and where you live and tell us whatever you would like for us to know as part of the.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you all for the time today. Commissioners, Mayor, the audience. In the original agenda, there was a 3-minute time allotment. So I wrote a 3-minute speech to talk as fast as I humanly could. Now I have 15 minutes, so you all got to hang around and we'll chat a little bit. But first of all, I just wanted to express on behalf of myself, my family, sympathy on the passing of the former mayor, Ms. Mary Hillman, which has been, he devoted so much time and effort to the community. It's a huge loss for everyone. So I would hope that in some way, when I'm done with my little speech, that I may be able to contribute to the community. I've been living here in South Florida for 36 years and in Boca Raton first for 26 years and then in Highland Beach for 10 years. And what I wanted to address quickly in my 3-minute, now 15-minute speech is 3 things. First of all, who am I? And why you should select me as a candidate. And also, why am I even here as a candidate? So quickly, I will give you my background. I started off with KPMG, which is a large CPA firm, got my CPA, then went back to school after working there for a number of years, got my MBA in International Economics and Finance. I then worked with Ernst & Young, which is now EY, in their mergers and acquisitions group and business valuations group, did that for about 4 years and then was hired away to head up the international mergers and acquisitions group for RBC, Royal Bank of Canada, out of their head office in Toronto. I did that for about 4 years. And then one of my significant clients, that was one of the wealthiest families in the country, ended up buying a group of companies based here in Boca Raton, offered me the opportunity to relocate in the dead of winter and came down here, and actually I stayed right here in Highland Beach to decide whether or not I would relocate here. And it didn't take me too long to decide. And I moved here in the mid-'80s and became CEO of a 400-person New York Stock Exchange member securities firm and a real estate development and brokerage business, all based here in Boca, right on Federal Highway 980. It was a turnaround. We took it from losing $600,000 a month that was being funded by my shareholder. And I tell people when I got here, I was 6'1" and had jet black hair, and then got the, you know what, kicked out of me for a number of years. But ultimately, we turned it around. We sold the company after about 4 years for about $150 million, at which point I stayed on as a consultant, but I set up my own operations. I have my own company that I invest with. I have my own mergers and acquisitions firm that I still work to help people buy and sell businesses. I own my own CPA firm and business valuation firm. I'm still fully licensed in the state of Florida. and on my valuation licenses internationally and nationally. So I still provide a lot of services to people. Besides doing direct investing, my CPA firm is affiliated with a large firm out of New York and New Jersey, so they do most of the work. I just deal with the headaches as they come in. In my free time, so you know a little bit about me, I spend time with my wife. I have 3 daughters, 2 of whom are married. We have 3 grandchildren. 2 of our daughters are here in Boca Raton, and our 3-year-old grandson's birthday is today. So tonight we'll be out for dinner with them. I like to work out. I used to be a ski instructor, still do a little skiing. I still swim. Happened to be a lifeguard for a number of years when I was much younger. And I'm also a practicing martial artist. I just got my certification as a 7th degree black belt in Shaolin Kempo Karate. So why select me? What I looked at when I saw those public filings that came in, where people were nice enough to spend the time, just as this gentleman did, to come up and express their concerns. You know, I saw that it seemed like this would be kind of a placeholder until the next election. I don't see this as a placeholder. I see this as something where this position as a member of the community, and I think the board here has done an amazing job over the years, keeping Highland Beach the top pristine place that it should be. And I'm looking to continue that. So I'd like, even if it's for a year, I'd like to add my expertise and try to help out for that year, so it doesn't just become a placeholder. And I am going to address the concern that the gentleman brought up. My background is I talk all day long with people domestically and internationally who are fund managers, owners of family offices, which is rich families all over the world, companies, hedge funds, etc. And they contact me unsolicited for advice, and usually they want to bring me in to help fix problems. So I'm used to basically getting dropped into anywhere. Don't really care what it is. Doesn't matter how big the company or how small. They can be public, they can be private. I deal with charitable trusts all the time, nonprofits, and they call me. Why do they call me? It could be a regulatory compliance nightmare, a litigation issue. It could be they're in fundraising mode. They're looking to make acquisitions or divestitures, selling their business. It could be strategic planning. It could be insurance. So there's a number of issues. So I'll come in there and basically sometimes they call me the fixer or the magician. And I listen to all the issues and fix it. I do not have the background of some of these other gentlemen who are candidates. I certainly cannot. First of all, I want to thank them for their service, because without them, we wouldn't be in such a great position that we are today. So thank you very much. But I think I can also bring value to the table. Hopefully, I have longevity in me, at least to make it through a year. So, you know, I'm in pretty good shape. I've got a clean bill of health. So from that side, so that's some of the why. And why am I here as a candidate? That's the third thing I wanted to bring to your attention. As I said, we've been living in Highland Beach 10 years. My wife and I, on a number of occasions, have said, you know, if we could live anywhere in the world, because moving to Boca Raton was a conscious decision. We lived in Toronto at the time. We really decided we wanted to move somewhere in warm weather, and really South Florida was the ideal place for us for a number of reasons. We've thought about where else in the world would we live, and we've traveled, not as extensively as some people, but enough to have a pretty good idea. We haven't found anywhere better, and we haven't found anywhere better than Highland Beach. So I tell people when I'm on the phone, people all over the world, this is the craziest thing. You know, you talk to people literally anywhere in the world, and they say, you know, where are you from? I always say, where are you talking from? Oh, I'm in Singapore, I'm in Thailand. And where are you? Oh, I'm in Boca Raton, but I live it's called Highland Beach. It's Boca Raton on the ocean. They all know where Boca Raton is. They know where New York is. They know where LA, Miami, and Boca Raton. And I tell them at the peak of the season, Boca Raton has 140,000 people. So it's kind of strange that you would know Boca, but it is a world landmark. And Highland Beach, frankly, is the gem within that in that area. And I say to people, I live in the bubble within the bubble. Boca is my bubble. Highland Beach is the bubble within the bubble. We love it. And we're not planning to move. We're planning to be here, and that's really why I'm here today. So I want to thank you all for your time. I'm certainly open to questions and happy to answer anything that we can.
Commissioner Goldberg, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
I thank you for submitting your name, your credentials. Certainly most impressive. You've
Oh,
had a
thank you.
magnificent career. As you've said, and as your paperwork reflects that you are actively involved. You've run a number of different businesses. Do you feel that you have enough time to take this on?
It's interesting, besides the fact of, if you want to get something done, you give it to a busy person.
Mhm.
But that's just the funny answer. The real answer, not so funny, but the real answer is, I am not presently on any boards. I'm not on any nonprofit boards. I advise when asked, this would be the only board that I would be on. And I'm looking for one. I was actively involved in a number of nonprofits in the past for when I was as busy as I am now. And they were ones that I was on the executive committee and the board of my temple for 13 years. And it's supposed to be a 2-year term as VP Finance. Somehow I lasted 13. So the point is that making the time is easy. I can walk here. It doesn't even take me 3 or 4 minutes. It'd be my pleasure.
And one other thing, I was just curious, why now? You're here in Highland Beach. You said 10 years.
Yes.
Is there something specific that may have occurred? What would that
Yes,
be?
there's something very specific.
What is?
There was an unfortunate passing. This position opened up. And I've been thinking of doing something in the city in some capacity. Frankly, I didn't really know how. I won't, surprise any of you. I don't really know any of you. You don't know me. I don't know you. So it was always like, there was never anyone like, even from my temple or other organizations, somebody usually solicited me and said, can you come and be involved or help me? That's how I typically got involved. When I saw the announcement for the vice mayor, I said, you know what? It was funny because my wife usually is the first one to say, no, like we got enough and we're busy. And this one, she said, it just seems like it's calling to you. So that's really why I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you for
No.
coming today.
Thank you for your questions.
Commissioner Peters.
You got some good skiing, being a skier. Canada is great skiing.
I was just out in El Doro, but I only got 1 day outside of Boulder.
I'm a Mount Tremblant guy. I like,
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I used to take my daughters every year. 2 of my 3 daughters love to ski. We used to go once a year there and
It's-
visit my family that's still in Montreal.
one of my favorite mountains. Yeah, very qualified you are. I just one question. Do you plan to run in next March?
It sounds like running for president, no one ever commits. I don't want to commit at this point.
Okay.
Let's see where this goes. And then we can take it from there. And also, frankly, if I were to be selected, I'd probably be consulting with all of you in terms of what your thoughts are, if that was the best use of my time. I'm really looking to be a team member and bring some added value. We live here. I just want to make it better or even better. Let's put it that way. I mean, we have a new sign coming. I can't wait to see what it is. New fire department. I just want to make it better. So wherever I'm best to apply my skill set, I will say, for 1 minute about tooting my own horn, I am solicited on an international basis to give advice. So I am pretty good at solving issues. So again, if I can be of assistance, I'm at Toscana, it's the next
Right.
major complex.
Good
Well,
answer.
One
Thank
over.
you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, and
Hey,
thank you for taking the time to get involved. And regardless of what happens here, I would urge you to get involved. We have a number of advisory boards that would be overjoyed to have you
oh,
join.
well, that's very kind of you. I appreciate
And
it. Thank
it-
you.
Helps give a little bit of background to what goes on here. Have you ever been on the board in your building?
No. And I specifically did not. I've been asked to consider it. Because I live in the building, I did not want to get into the building politics. We liked to, there's an old expression, good fences make good neighbors. And we subscribe to that. So again, there's been times when I've been asked for assistance and advice, which I happily give. There are a couple of board members that I'm quite close to. But to actually do that and that commitment of time, as well as I didn't want to be that person in the community.
Okay, and I have to parrot that your resume is exemplary.
Oh,
So-
well, thank you.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much for
Love your
coming.
necklace, by the way. It's great.
Thank you. Uh, I'm a jewelry person.
Are you? So are we, actually. Not for, I don't wear it. I just buy it, but.
That's what my husband says. Yeah, please, regardless, stay involved in the town. We
thank you.
absolutely can use more people with qualifications like yours to, because it's going to be a long road. We have a lot of things that we're going to
Right,
have to accomplish in a short period of time. And there will be 3 open seats next March. So there will be 3 seats up for.
Well, I'm not giving up yet.
No, I'm not suggesting that you do. I'm
Okay,
just
okay.
saying that there is a future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, welcome, and thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for volunteering. It's really refreshing to have such qualified candidates come before the board. It's really wonderful how we all have rallied together
Right.
at this time, and it's just so encouraging. I guess my one question, I think I already know the answer to, have you been involved with any municipal organizations, any type of? No.
Not formally, no.
Okay.
no.
Okay. Yeah, I think we would all say it's quite a bit of a difference from anything we've experienced, in that, like, we actually can't talk to each other outside of these public meetings about things that would come, before.
Right.
So it is quite, I'll say, for me, it was a shock, what all the rules that you have to follow. And yeah, I would echo what my
Well,
fellow.
let me just address that for a second,
Sure.
because through my career, including now, I'm involved in many companies. And fund managers, funds, I deal a lot with regulatory compliance and litigation, because you can't get away with it, away from it today. So I'm usually the one that helps to, I work very closely with the lawyers and give advice to whoever I'm working with. I'm a pretty creative guy, and I know a lot because I've been around long enough now, whether it's, you have to look at something, everything today is multidimensional. It's not like it used to be linear. You have to look at the tax implications. You have to look at the social impact implications, the ESG, environment, social governance. You have to, so what used to be just, oh, let's do that. Wait a minute. You don't realize who you're offending, and either offending or what rule you may not intentionally be breaking now or in the future. So you have to consider all these things. And that's something that I deal with constantly for numerous boards.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you all for your
Appreciate it.
time, and thank you.
The next candidate is Roberta Cruda. If you could please come to the podium. Please state your name and where you live.
My name is Roberta Kruder. I live on Highland Beach Drive. And I'm not sure, but I think I've been living in this community longer than anybody in this room, in excess of 30 years. Let's see what I got here. I made a few notes. First of all, I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here today. It's pretty exciting that you have 6 candidates that jumped to the post here, because we've had a lot of elections where they've gone unopposed. We don't have enough people that are interested, but I'm particularly interested now because at this point in my career. So I wrote, actually, you spoke first and you took my 2 questions. Who am I and why should I be chosen? So it bears some repetition. And I said, gee, I'm likable, I'm diligent, I'm dependable, I'm lighthearted, I'm a good listener, and my kid sister is here today to verify all those qualities. So it is a challenging question, but as I said, I've been living here 30 years. I arrived in South Florida in the 1970s, and we became the first female jewelers in Boca Raton, Juilliards. We opened in a place called the Boca Raton Mall, which was replaced by Meisner Park. A little bit of history. Actually, 95, we were living in Broward at the time, and you couldn't even take 95 to get to Boca Raton. And even like you said today, nobody knows where Highland Beach is. It's still a little gem. So that's when I was working on Federal Highway, and I just discovered the tranquility and the beauty of Highland Beach. I rented initially on Russell Drive, and then I purchased my current home on Highland Beach Drive. It was a time when you could count the cars that passed on A1A in the summer months. The uniqueness and splendor of this town, we all appreciate. And I would like this opportunity to join this council and offer my business expertise, energy, and enthusiasm. Being in the retail industry my entire life, I know the art of diplomacy and negotiation and skilled at communicating with others. Most importantly, reaching goals that need to be attended. My background is in mathematics. I spent most of my years, and I'm still a private jeweler today, in fine jewelry, gold and diamonds. We've seen a lot of changes in Boca Raton, and I want to contribute with the strengths and exuberance to its shining future. I have the time now, since I'm not encumbered by a daily workload. So I have a lot of pep and energy, and I want to offer it to you all. Questions, please.
Commissioner, Colbert, you want to start?
Thank you. So you addressed two of my questions. The art of diplomacy.
Yes.
So tell us more about that.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, like I said earlier, you have to be a good listener. And when you're dealing with people of different age groups, different ethnic groups, which I've encountered all through the years, you have to listen and then to both sides of the story and come to a conclusion that's amiable to both parties if you want to continue in business, which we have. We're all celebrating almost 45 years. I've neglected to mention that I'm in business with my two sisters. My mother's passed away, but it was mother and daughters.
Do you have any experience or exposure to the municipal setting, whether it be on a committee or whether it be Highland Beach or in any?
The only
other
committees that
jurisdiction?
I've been on, I was involved in I still am very active in my synagogue in Palm Beach. I do a lot with sisterhood. We have meetings all the time, make sure everything operates properly. I'm also a licensed auctioneer. I've done a lot of fundraising. So with different charities, you'll see on the resume that I submitted, the juvenile diabetes, hospice, different groups that we've generated money for.
So you believe that you have the time to
I do
devote,
have the
that you
time, and I definitely have the enthusiasm. That's why I'm doing. I thought about this for many years. Like I said, I've been living here for many years, but I said, I can't make the meetings. What's going to happen? You know, you have to make a commitment. I'm ready to make the commitment.
Well, I was going to ask, why now?
That's the answer.
Why?
I have the
So
time.
it's just recent that
And
has
we're doing a
changed.
lot of exciting things in this city.
Mhm.
And I hope, hopefully I'd like to see even more being done with the fire department, as was mentioned. I submitted my entries into the signage, but we did not get selected, but I had fun with that. It started about a year ago. I think it's been going on for a year, right?
Almost.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You answered a couple of my questions with the time. Met your sister at the election day there. And she has a lot of energy too, so I can see where she, it's family orientated there. Yeah, no, the Highland Beach is a castle, and thank you for coming up here and offering yourself. Thank you.
There's really no other place to live. Even
Right,
if
exactly
people
right.
don't know, never heard of it, it's even better, right?
Right. Thank you.
Well, we also have Kew Gardens in common.
Did we?
Yes.
That's where I was born in Kew Garden. Thus the accent, right? Kew Gardens, New York.
Yes.
And my birth date is which I don't admit to readily, is 1949,
Mine too.
which is incorporated right here.
Don't tell
Yes, there.
anyone. And I lived there till I was about 15. And then I moved to Don's neck of the woods. And as far as auctions, I'm usually buying. No, it's, I thank you for coming forward. And you're right, there's a time in your life when it's time to get involved. And I did the same thing. I had never been involved in, and while right now it's good to have people with experience, it isn't necessarily a prerequisite, because while there's a learning curve, anyone who's bright and listens can learn.
And I'm in that category. Yeah. I'm
So-
very diligent. If I want to do something, I want to do it. And right.
Please stay involved regardless, because as I said, there are going to be 3 seats and there are openings on advisory boards, which most of the people here understand that gives you a great insight into how this town functions. And some point, I hope to go on one after I'm finished here. I know it's usually done the other way, but it's okay. And yes, thank you for coming forward. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for coming forward. It was nice to meet you
Same
in
here,
person.
Natasha.
I guess my one question, you've
Yes.
been here a long time and it's
Yes.
impressive how long you've been here. And I wish I could say I've been here as long as you, because it's so, I love this town and it's so gorgeous and a great place to live. But I guess my question to you, since you have been here so long, do you have any concerns about some of the initiatives that we're taking with the town?
Well, I'm a little confused about what's happening with the FDT, with the widening of the roads and what measurements they're using. Apparently there's conflicting. And also we have a little bit of a debacle going on with Delray with the overcharges that are, so I've been following that. I have a friend that was a commissioner in Delray and she says it's not true. So I don't know what that means, but I certainly keep up with everything that's happening here.
Yeah, I guess that is my question. How do you keep up? Do you watch meetings?
Sometimes I watch it on the computer. I've come to a few meetings here and I'd like to see more being done with the library because it's so beautiful and I don't go enough. But if there were more activities that suited me and my friends, then we would come.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for coming forward.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Murray?
Thank you for the opportunity to be on the Board of Commission, even though it's not under good circumstances.
So if you could say your name and where
Sure.
you live. Yeah.
My name is actually, it's listed as James Murray. James is my first name, but I go by my middle name, which is Burke. So people know me as Burke. And there's an extra R on the agenda. It's not Murray, it's Murray, M-U-R-A-Y. So I live in Villanova, right down the street. 3505 South Ocean Boulevard. I attended FAU back in 1979. I got a master's degree in ocean engineering. And I really liked the area when I was here. And I should have just stayed, but I made the mistake of leaving. So I went to Connecticut for a few years. And then Washington, DC for most of my career, like 30 years. And now I'm back. So we moved here in March of 21. My wife and I, and we live here full time. So just my career a little bit. I started with General Dynamics Electric Boat up in Connecticut, worked there for a few years. Then I got sent down to DC to work on a new submarine project at the time. And then I stayed. So most of my career I've been involved in submarine engineering, design and construction. So started in Connecticut, General Dynamics, moved to DC. There I became an independent consultant for a few years. Then a friend and I started our own engineering company, ran that for about 5 years. Then we got bought out by another engineering firm, did that for probably 10 years. And then the last 15 years of my career, I worked for the US Navy as a civilian. So I worked in a testing lab in Bethesda, Naval Surface Warfare Center. So the reason I went through all those different places, I think I have a kind of a unique perspective that I worked for the government, I worked for small business, I worked for big business. So I think I have a, kind of able to see the different perspective of businesses. And with the Navy particularly, I did a lot of contract. I mean, I was an engineer, but I did a lot of contract work with private companies. So I have some experience with running projects. Particularly with the Navy, I have experience with running projects that were late and over budget. So I'm hoping that I can, since I have battle scars from those things, I can, have good value at Highland Beach. I'm a licensed professional engineer in Virginia. I don't have a license in Florida because I'm not planning to actually do engineering work here, but I could get the license here if I needed it too. I'm on the code enforcement board at Highland Beach since December of 21. I actually applied for I was planning to apply for the vacant spot that Mr. Stern got, but it turned out I was out of town when the interviews were happening, so I couldn't do that. But I've had interest in being on the commission for a while. So in my Navy career, I had 25 people working for me in different locations. And that turned out to be, there were 4 different locations, and that turned out to be more challenging than I thought it was going to be. I kind of specialized as a nerd engineer for most of my career. So learning those people skills was harder than I thought it was going to be. But I eventually learned how to try to get people to work as a team. As part of the Navy, you can't really promise people things you can't deliver. So I couldn't promise somebody a raise. It wasn't really up to me. But I did learn the skill of listening to people, trying to understand what they needed and trying to work with people, even though I couldn't always give them what they wanted. So I think that's a valuable skill. I do, like I mentioned, I do have experience with project management, budgets, schedules. I know how to read drawings. Regarding the road, I'm definitely not a roadway engineer, but I know how to read drawings. I can understand what they're trying to do. And I've been in pretty close communication with the project manager. He's really good about responding to questions. The firehouse, that's something else I think I could be valuable in shepherding that along. I'm not an architect, but I'm used to designing submarines, and so I know how to get a lot of people in a small space. So I think as an engineer, I would offer a unique, value to the commission. Not that I would be doing calculations and signing off forms, but just being able to understand what's going on and provide a kind of a different flavor. So that's all I've got prepared. Please, questions.
Well, again, it's your background, your professional experience, your education is unique and very impressive.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you. I mean, you moved here in 2021 and you just jumped into your hometown to get
Yes.
involved.
Yep.
And that's admirable. I saw that you had checked or said no, your second desire was the Natural Resources Preservation Board.
Yes.
So that's something that you intended to do if this was not
That's
as you would
correct.
want it
Yes.
to be.
Yep.
You would also be applying for any vacancy there, I would imagine.
Yes,
Okay.
that's my plan.
And you're still serving on the code enforcement.
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay.
Also, forgot to mention, I volunteer at Gumbo Limbo, the turtle rescue place in Boca.
That's
So-
wonderful.
So I'm interested in the environmental
Right.
issues, turtle rehab, and
So could you speak to, when I hear you talk about, and reading over your paperwork, the working, you said you're a former federal employee, and you described briefly,
yes,
what it looked like. In the, did you manage groups of people?
Yes.
To facilitate projects? You did?
yeah, I was a supervisor of a group of 25 people.
Okay.
And my group, developed submarine ship control trainers. So they're basically a room that pitches and rolls. And they sit in there and learn how to drive the submarine. So we bought those units, we built them, tested them, maintained them. And that's what we did. That's why you had people all over the place, because I had some people in Hawaii, some people in Groton, Connecticut, some people downtown, some people in Guam. So
Did that include dealing with the operational budgets and
Yes.
compliance with whatever contractual obligations you had?
yes,
Or the-
so not only our own budget, but all the contractors that worked for us.
Mhm. What aspect of that position did you like the best?
I really like the computer programming and we wrote the software that drove the simulator. So when they turn the rudder,
Mhm.
there's a computer that has to predict that. I really enjoyed that part,
Mhm.
but I came to learn the value of the integration of all the different pieces that go into that device.
Mhm.
That was fun too.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Again, I thank you for submitting the interview and your paperwork and being here today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Burke is one of my friends in our board in our building, so I know quite a bit about him. And his volunteer work, and it's nice to have an engineer on our board so we can give him all the projects and he can oversee them for us. So I appreciate that, and I kind of know everything about you, so there's no questions, but thank you for your volunteer for Gumbo Limbo. We had to get little lights going out to the beach in there, and he got our amber lights for us, so we didn't have any turtles come the wrong way.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you, Don.
Well, it's nice to see you again, and your resume is obviously still as impressive as it was the last time
Thank you.
that you came applying for a board. Yeah, I'm also in awe of the fact that you just jumped right in here. Most people don't. I know I didn't until there was a problem. And then I did, but I'm glad that you're involved, and since there are four of us, I have no idea how this is going to go, but please stay involved.
Thank you.
And I do know there are openings on the Natural Resources Board.
Yeah, my wife told me, go do something. You don't have to, I don't care what it is, just get out of the house.
That sounds a little like, it sounds a little like get out of the house. Thank you.
It's very nice to meet you, Burke, and thank you very much for volunteering. I guess one question I have is, how's your experience been on the Code Enforcement Board? Are there some things that you didn't expect that you came across over this past year?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the cases are different. Most of them are kind of routine, but there are some that where you learn new things, like there was an issue of somebody posting do not trespass signs on the beach, and the Code Enforcement Board had to deal with that. So I learned a lot about coastal law. So it's been good. It's been a good experience.
And I think a lot of what we have to deal with is you can't please everyone. I guess, can you tell us a little bit about how that's been for you on the Code Enforcement Board and how you deal with that?
Yeah, I'm not particularly, I'm not on the side of the city or the person. I try to be neutral and listen to what the facts of the case. So it is difficult, and that's something I had to deal with too. The Navy is a lot of conflicting interests, and you can't satisfy everybody. So if you wrap yourself around the axle trying to satisfy everybody, that's going to be unsatisfying. So,
Any specific thoughts on some of the initiatives that we are embarking on?
oh, I think the fire department is a really good idea. I'm happy to see that going. And the zoning, I don't know a lot about the zoning, so I'm interested in getting involved in that. And then the A1A, and I think it's kind of a done deal as far as what they're going to do, but I think it's a good thing have somebody who's monitoring that and at least dealing with issues as they come up.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Mr. Shoemaker, could you please come forward?
So thanks. It's interesting to be on this podium today, but
So your name and where you live.
yes, John Shoemaker, and I'm from the Clarendon, been in Highland Beach for about 20 years. Some of what I've said at the last meeting just a few days ago, I'm going to repeat basically for all of you. What do I offer? I think, sure, I've been on the commission for 3 years. I've been involved in all the major decisions for the last 3 years, including, of course, the fire and EMS station. I'm very familiar with all the issues with the town, from FDOT, go down the list, the priorities that we established. Okay, 5 pages of priorities that we established and that we had to edit down. I was mentored by Doug Hillman. I had spent, after time in the Army where I was offering service to the country, I spent 45 years in high technology at the VP, EVP, president level for small startup restarts, as well as billion-dollar companies. After that 45-year career, retired to Highland Beach. 20 years in Highland Beach has been just a pleasure. It's paradise, no question about it. But I wanted to give again, so I devoted the last 3 years in trying to help the town best way I can, not looking for anything more than dealing with the issues and helping get to decisions, get action, not just be a bureaucrat in Washington, D.C., as I've had a lot of experience with, that they talk all day long and nothing gets done. Okay, so essentially a team player, proven spirit, having a team that works together, that is in sync with each other, led by Doug, who was just excellent. He brought us together. And again, I said before, I'll say it again, this town is so different in that we did not have that acrimony, that we did have success in moving forward on key initiatives. So what else do I offer besides a little knowledge, competence, and being involved in the past? I like to think I offer continuity. I think Mr. Baruch said something I thought was interesting. One is Highland Beach is pristine. We want to keep it that way. I'm not looking for big condos to come in. I don't want to see rezoning that would change the look and feel of Highland Beach. The future. So that's retaining the culture, the look and feel of Highland Beach. I think we need to keep that. With my background and knowledge of what we've done, I certainly know what we need to do and do it with a spirit of cooperation, goodwill, cultural, good feeling, and collaboration. I can go through the issues of FDOT and marine accessory structures, seawalls, zoning and more. And of course, the projects EMS, this whole mess with Del Rey and the true up issues that we have that, okay, they say, but I think someone kind of made reference. They think we owe them a couple $100,000. They actually may be in a tough shape when they learn that they may owe us $1 million. So that's to be worked out. State will get involved in that. And I think having the connection with the state, with Peggy Gossett-Seidman, is an excellent way for us to position for success. What is needed is credibility, what we do, continuing the momentum of what we've done, and having a relationship on the dais that works. So yes, I would like to come back. Would like to have your support. I also know that although I have had at this last election, about 47% of the voters who voted supported me. That says something in the commitment that I made to continue for another term. So I fair and squarely lost, but without saying too much, the fact is there was a PAC involved, a political action committee. And I just fear that that committee will influence this dais. I'm going to look for the 2 new commissioners to show their independence in thought and in being decisive, that what is good for the town. This position is only for a year. If you can't find a way to accept me for reasons I still don't understand, I endorse Dave. Sensibility, continuity, experience, knowledge. I think that's what's important right now, given the importance of the projects that are facing this town, some of the most important in the history of our town. First was the water plant. It was huge. Now we have EMS fire. And the reasons why we did it and what we need to deliver on the promise of reduced costs, increased service and response time. That is to the benefit of this town, that will stay with the town forever. Lastly, I would point out dignity is important, professionalism is important. If Doug was here today, I'm sure he would want me to be beside him on the dais. But also, again, I realize politics, I realize the situation, and I want to leave you in good standing because I'll be back. Thank you. Questions?
Thank you, John. I have, lived here for a number of years, and I had the pleasure of seeing you on the dais.
Well, thank you.
And I thank you. I thank you for the service and all your good work. So my question is, you've said before, previous to this and today, that you are here despite losing the election for the purpose of continuity. So it seems to me that we always have a rolling openings, periodically. And in the last election, 3 years ago, we had 3 new sitting members. I understand. Yourself and Doug Hillman, and now Mayor Moore. What makes that so different? I mean, they took on 3 out of the 5 new bodies, new thoughts, new ideas, and achieved just wonderful things over the 3 years. So why would that be impeded today by having 2 new members, and certainly the next chair will also be filled.
So as Fred Rosen said, I happen to agree that it's important if you can avoid having 3 out of 5 brand new without the experience in the town, the knowledge and history of what's gone on, the basis for what decisions were made and why, and the basis for future decisions that we have to make. But to go to the root of the question you're asking, at the time that we came on board 3 years ago, the prior board was in the middle of strife, middle of acrimony. I mean, they were banging heads. It was a very difficult time for the town. And frankly, it wasn't much different even the board before that, or the commission before that. So the level of disagreement, disharmony really made it difficult. And so a lot of things didn't get done, especially after this crazy $45 million referendum, which really got me involved. That was the basis that John Ross recruited me, and I got involved because I knew the technology and why that would be a problem to implement that program. So we could have taken the route that many other commissions have done, which is to do nothing or kick the can down the road. Fire EMS is a perfect example. They kicked the can down the road for 30 years on a contract that was flawed to begin with, where we were getting overcharged, where 38 to 42% of our operating budget was going to Delray. And in the past, in order to avoid, any further problems, they didn't want to do the homework. They didn't want to do the due diligence necessary to hire a consultant, to study the statistics, to understand how and why we were getting a bad deal, to get a forensic auditor in, to do hiring the things that we need to do to say, this is crazy, we can't continue. In the past, they wouldn't make that decision. We did. That's what made us different. And this team, the commission, this last commission, stepped up when others in the past would not. And we learned fast. And of course, I'll have to admit Doug was an excellent leader who mentored all of us and who Natasha will do an excellent job as the new leader. No question about it. It's how fast do you get up to speed? Learning all of the issues, regulations, laws, the statutes, sunshine, all of that, separate from the issues involved in doing anything, whether it's zoning, whether it's Milani Park, FDOT, how much can we really influence? You can hear a lot of exaggerated, oh my God, the world's falling, they're gonna widen the road. A lot of that was political hype. That's the fact. Now you get down to brass tacks and what you really can do. Okay, that's fact rather than, again, political exaggeration. So that's what makes the difference. Did I answer your question?
No, I don't think so. But I certainly, you know, I appreciate the work that you did do. The question was really why now? I mean, we have lots of very important projects.
Of course,
And
that's
we have,
all of it. Right in
yeah.
front of us is the fire
Yeah.
EMS. We've already talked FDOT, we talked about zoning, the
So
big issue.
the question was really the continuity.
Yeah.
That seems to be the purpose for which why you're here today. You want to provide that.
So common sense
3
says
years
that
ago-
if you have a choice between those who have been working it for years and those who are brand new, have to start from zero, what would give you a fast start? I mean, to me, but again, I don't want to force anything here. I'm not, if anything, I'm a team player. I want to cooperate. I want to join in a spirit of collaboration. I'm just saying what, if I were betting on horses, you bet on one that's won the last race and has never been in a race, all right? Versus one that's never been in a race. So again, I'm just here to support what you all want to do, what gives you the fastest opportunity to make good decisions, given the severity of the issues at hand. And if you can't settle, Dave would be an excellent choice.
Thank you, John.
Any other questions?
Yeah, my only questions, thank you, John, for your past 3 years. Do you tend to run again in next March?
Yes.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Hi, John. You were a valuable member and you would obviously make a valuable member in now or in the future. And I really don't have any questions because I know all there is to know. Thank
Sure.
you.
Thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you so much for your service to this town. It has been really wonderful working alongside you. I think one of the things that impressed me so much about you is how you just think outside the box when we're thinking of solutions for things. You tend to come up with something that I know I definitely hadn't thought of. It just seemed like it was you come at it from a different perspective, and I really thought you brought a lot of value to the commission for that reason. I guess one thing I'd like to hear your thoughts on, and you know, that you can share it with everyone else. Certainly achieving what we have to do is obviously very important. What are your thoughts on and perhaps even improving the camaraderie of the town? So what do you think you could do to just improve the support for the decisions that are made? Given, you know, we can't please everyone. We're not gonna all come to an agreement. But what do you think can be done to improve that process? So I have no doubt you come to the, you know, right conclusion, but along the way, how can we perhaps improve the camaraderie to get there?
So I have 3 responses. How's that?
Okay.
Just off the top of my head, not being prepared for that kind of a question. First one. We started as a team, I remember talking at lunch one time with the mayor. Let's do food truck events. Okay, food trucks. Wow, we're gonna bring in food trucks. Where are we gonna put the trucks? how are we gonna support it? And so there was a lot of the issues of logistics that our town manager got stuck with doing, but he did an excellent job. And we put up the tent, we got the trucks, we had to, learn from the first one, we went on to the second one, then I think the third one, we started to really hit with about 150, 200, even maybe 300 residents, so that we could have a spirit of harmony, of a spirit of communication, just a town spirit, and have them involved and bring them here and talk. Now, that's what we've done. That was an innovative approach. It wasn't done before, and a lot of towns don't do it, some do. What we could do, though, is take it a step further. One of the things that we did not do is educate the residents when they were here. This whole parking lot was filled. We could even shut down A1A if we needed to, and have more people that maybe we give a presentation, here's what's happening in our town, and educate them on all the different things that are going on that we've done, that maybe we should do, and use it as an opportunity to get specific feedback. That's something that would just take the current plan and move it to another dimension. Second thing, I decided to get involved in the League of Cities, League of Florida Cities, which they have these meetings. That means you have to go and attend the meetings. It takes a half a day. But you learn from what these other towns are doing and what their problems are. Everybody on the dais should be going to those meetings. I learned what was happening, Delray and Gulfstream, Manalapan. Their dais shows up. So we need to cooperate more with the area towns through the league. We need to be more supportive of the league and talk about specific initiatives that are winners. That's what we could do. Third thing, the beaches. Everybody's talking about the beaches now. It's 3,000 miles long. One article just said, no, it's 5,000 miles long. The Sargassum, from the tip of South America to Africa. Sargassum, that long, and it's coming here. Well, in the past, it's been a problem at certain times of the year. This was supposed to be as bad as it gets. This now trying to change it a bit, but we need to have more of a response, because even now the sargassum is filling up the beaches. Doesn't help anything. It doesn't help the turtles. And it certainly doesn't help the beauty of the beach. You don't want to walk on it, I can tell you that. We need to consider what to do about massive amounts of sargassum, which at some point we may need tractors out there just trying to load it, not just bury it. So those three particular initiatives that affect the beach, affect community spirit and culture. I know if you gave me another half an hour, I can come up with at least 3 more.
I know you could.
But I've taken too much of your time, and I think everybody else needs to hear more. What else could I ask or answer?
That's very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Shoemaker.
Wants to know? It was a pleasure to serve with you. It was awesome. And your smile and your leadership just melts people. So keep it up. Thank you.
Mr. Stern.
Good afternoon, Dave Stern. I live at 2001 South Ocean Boulevard, Highlands Place, and I've been a resident for 22 years. It was a great experience filling Peggy Gossett Seidman's seat for the past 4 months. I must tell you, just taking the police boat down the intercoastal and the inlets and looking at all the opportunities, taking the buggy along the beach, and again, looking at everything, getting into the detail, the tour of the water plant and update, you really learn a lot. I've always been a believer, you start and get into the nitty gritty and go from bottom up so you understand what everybody has to do. So that was a terrific experience. So I thank you for that. I'd just like to give you a brief list of my qualifications. Before the commissioner assignment, I was on the Financial Advisory Board as chair, and I was a member for over 5 years. Prior to that, I was chair of the Board of Adjustments, and I was also chair of the Code Enforcement Board. I was also a member of the previous Charter Review Board in 2012, and part of a special 3-person committee reviewing the water plant expenditures back in 2005. Myself, Joe Salter, and Jack were the three-person. And I must say, Jack came, he really found a lot of bucks. And we also found no wrongdoing, just perhaps follow up and looking at some of the things. So that was the good news. I'm also presently president of Highlands Place Condo Association. I've been president for 6 years and just had a new election. I'm also co-treasurer of Temple Sinai in Delray Beach. I'm also an arbitrator for FINRA, the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, which is a great experience because that's one thing you learn very quickly when you have a case. First, you get the complaint and you say, boy, this person's really getting it. Then you hear the response and say, hey, maybe they're not. So then you got to listen to both sides and hear, and usually there's three truths. One the complaint, one the response, and somewhere you find the real thing. And so you got to listen. That's the whole key. And that's the biggest lesson I've learned there. And I've been doing that for many years. My past includes being on the Board of Regents and a trustee of Long Island College Hospital, on the board of the Retail Federation, president of Temple Sinai and Delray Beach, and U.S. Army Reserve Supply Sergeant. My work experience has basically been in retailing. I've been in senior executive positions with responsibilities, including store operations, communications, security, and store planning. Happy to answer any questions.
I think your background is just amazing. And I was there and participated in the interview process 4 months ago. And I said, I'd vote for this man, 4 months ago. Thank you. Thank you for your unselfish contribution to our town. You've served on almost every committee.
Just about.
Every committee. And many prestigious boards. I've had the pleasure of having the opportunity to speak with you briefly during campaign, before I couldn't talk to you. So I know a lot about your background. I just want to thank you for putting in your application. And I'll pass to the next commissioner. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. What board haven't you been on? You looks like you've been on every
I guess
board
the
here.
environmental board, just pretty much,
Yeah, I just want to thank you for serving and in the interim. You did a good job and thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, David. I'm a big fan. I've always been a fan. You have done a spectacular job in a variety of different areas for this town. And I'd love to see that continue. So thank you.
Thank you.
David, it's so great to see you. I started with the town a few years ago and I started with you on the financial advisory board. I can remember our interview and how much I definitely wanted to be part of the board because of you. I think you foster that among the people who are involved, that you're very likable and you inspire people to, you definitely inspired me to want to be involved and to continue to be involved. I appreciate your mentorship. You've mentored me through the financial advisory board and you still, are helpful to me in many different ways. And it was great working alongside you for these last few months. I think it's really helpful, your history with the town. I know in working with various projects on the financial advisory board, even on the commission, you might remember why we made that decision, back then, and you'll make very relevant points as to, it's helpful to not forget the history because you don't want to make a similar mistake that we had done in the past. And I think that's something that you really bring to this. I really don't have any questions. I think so not only do you have relevant, work experience, but you continue to be involved. So this, financial board that you're on, I think that helps you to continue to stay abreast of, issues that are happening and that you bring that knowledge to the town. So yeah, I don't have any questions, but I definitely wanted to share that perspective. So thank you very much for all you've done for the town and your service. And I don't have any additional questions.
Thank you.
Ms. Vegas?
Thank you. My name is Chris Villegas and I live at the Clarendon at 3407 South Ocean Boulevard. And I live with an immune compromised person, my husband, who's watching. Hi, honey. And so I wear masks, so just so that you know, I'm not totally paranoid. But I need to be cautious for him. Up front, I just want to tell you that if appointed for this position, I would not be running for any office in the spring. I would serve out 1 year, because my interest really is in Highland Beach. You ask, why would I submit my name for 1 year? And I think that the key to me is Highland Beach and what it offers to all of us as residents. I've been a winter person here with my husband for 14 years. And the last couple we were in Michigan and we were unable to be here because we were quarantined because of his lung. And we came down here and sold our house and we're here full time. And I'm very happy to say that because it's a lovely community. I thought I have some skills from my background that might be useful to you. And so I wanted to just share those a little bit. At the beginning, I was a litigator and I worked for a trial judge and went to private practice. And I lived in a town called Birmingham, Michigan, which is a small town with 17,000 people. And the year before I moved there, they commissioned upzoned the downtown area to 15 stories. Not a building was over 4 stories. They built a 15-story building in the center. And at that time, I got involved with some of the residential groups. And we got a commissioner on the board, and then I ran for commission, and I was on the commission for 3 years and was a mayor pro tem for my city. We did downsize the downtown district and reverse the prior decision that had been made. And Birmingham is a jewel in Michigan. It is one of the premier sites to go live, work, attracts young people. And we developed a master plan while I was there, and that master plan is in place today. In the middle of my career, I was a corporate attorney. I went to the Auto Club in Dearborn, Michigan, and it was a $2 billion insurance company and auto club at that time. It is now over $6 billion, and it took over 11 clubs. And I worked the legal department and managed the legal department for 27 years until I retired after my husband's lung transplant. While I was doing that, I worked in West Bloomfield, Michigan on our lake. I lived on a lake and had extensive experience with our water quality, invasive species, and also worked with the fine department run by Marshall Labadie. Marshall and his team were instrumental in us implementing a number of changes to the lake and how we manage our our lake quality and how we manage our treatment of invasive weeds. And so that was my legacy, and we were able to create a sustainable board. We created a website to educate people about the lake, and that is alive today. And you can go and visit pinelakemi.com, and there it is. So after I finished my career, in that end portion, my husband had a lung transplant. We decided we needed to simplify life. And so I came down to Highland Beach this year as a full-time resident. And so we left Michigan behind. And you ask, why would I want to do something like this now, particularly with a 1-year commitment? And the reason for that is because my experience in working with the master plans and working as a commissioner and as a member of the Board of Zoning Appeals all of that goes into what you have to do right now. I think that when I became a commissioner and when I was president of my lake association, the views of residents are very important to how you structure things. For example, proposals or referendums. One passed, a great thing, the fire station, but the 4 that didn't probably weren't far off, but needed more input from residents. So that's a sweet spot for me. And how would we get that? We would work with the presidents who are in buildings, long-standing presidents, and then individual owners who live along A1A. I think that the FDOT project, which is going to need a lot of attention, could maybe get tweaked a little bit if there were an open meeting and FDOT were invited in to let the residents ask questions. And they say they have done that before, and that might be an opportunity for this commission to get in one more meeting and perhaps get a little more input and see if there's any ways to tweak it. They have not gone out to bid yet. They are not selecting their contractor to July, and they have met with other commissions in open meetings like that from what they told me last week. I think I can hit the ground running. I understand how towns work intimately. I think police and fire is the #1 concern that we hear as we walk A1A. And I want an independent voice. I don't want to be here because I'm going to run next year. I'm committing that I'm not going to run next year if I get this appointment. And I'll give you my full effort, and I'll give you every skill that I have to work with the residents. And if you were not to select me, I would definitely select David because I've watched him over the past 6 months, and I think he brings a calmness to the commission as well. Thank you. Oh, questions?
Yes. Well, as Christine, as a fellow attorney, I was very, very impressed with the municipal experience, corporate experience, the court, and your service in the community, particularly the extent of the municipal involvement that you had, serving not only as a mayor, but as a commissioner, versed in zoning, maybe now our zoning, and it doesn't matter if it was 20 or 30 years ago, you have this
Right.
under your belt. I don't have any direct questions. I was going to ask you, other than what you've mentioned, are there any other item of our strategic priorities that you were particularly interested in or having, other than the FDOT and fire department? Anything
I
else that-
think the zoning issue is a very key issue for the city going forward. There's a lot of investment involved, people's investment. And so you have to look at things like the water, you have to look at multiple factors to determine how do you zone, and particularly in transition areas that may be areas that have single family residential, multiple residential, and then also split family housing. The zoning's all mixed up. So you have to think carefully about how you would modify that. My focus would be not in increasing density. I think that we're a barrier island. We have to be careful how much we develop and where we develop. So I think we need to really look at keeping the density, keeping the quality, the density where we are now. Or reducing it in some way that seems economically feasible to do.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today, very much. And I hope, we all hope that you'll continue your involvement as you have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely, Christine. I hope you continue in Highland Beach, anything you can do. You got a great resume, credentials. Always good to have a litigator on a board. And I believe that you could hit the ground running. And so I say, you answered my question, but I asked you about running in March. Thank you.
Welcome. I have just two minor questions, really. What were your main job responsibilities as Deputy General Counsel?
I ran the department. We had 6 and then went to 12 attorneys and staff, support staff, paralegals. So I was under the general counsel. And so he and I was also the corporate secretary for the organization. So I attended the board meetings and I ran the department and worked and coordinated all the legal issues.
Were you involved more in litigation or more in claims management? Or I know they were very different.
Yeah, no,
aspects.
not at all. In the litigation, I managed some of the litigation attorneys for some significant corporate litigation that we had that involved all of the subsidiaries. But we had a whole nother department that did the claims litigation. And so I worked with that department when there were issues related to budgetary issues or staffing issues, but I never practiced on that side of the house.
And University of Chicago, the Graduate School of Business, did you get an MBA from them?
No, that was a course that was on the diversity and a financial course on the diversity of different merger and acquisition methods that you could use to add to your corporate structure.
Thank you. And yes, I agree. You have a well-rounded background, certainly, and thank you for applying.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for volunteering today and coming to talk to us. Yeah, I'm intrigued by your experience on the city commission and your pro tem term as mayor. And it sounded like you tackled a pretty significant issue with the zoning at the time. And I guess I'm curious, how did you get input from the residents? What did you feel worked well as far as getting input from the residents?
What I did was met with all of the presidents of all the associations in the town, as well as 2 other people who ultimately were on the commission. And we had meetings, and then we would invite commissioners in one-on-one to talk about some of the issues, because there was a division at the time that there were people who thought you needed, if you have a gem like you have here, a gem like Birmingham, that you needed height and density to get people to come to the city. And I'm originally from Boston, and I know that you do not need to do that, that the people will come and you can maintain the height limitations that you have. So we were able to set up really group meetings, several of them conducted. And then the commission was able to hear some of the concerns. And that was how we began to sway a couple of the people. And the mayor, who was in place when our first commissioner got in, and then later when I got on to the commission, actually began to think of that there was a different way to look at that particular downtown area and the residential areas around it. And they become extraordinarily valuable. Now the real estate for the residences, because of that, have become very valuable today. So we did it that way.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, well, great. That's all the questions I had. So that concludes, thank you very much. That concludes the interviews for the applicants. So do we want any more discussion? Are you guys ready to vote? You ready to vote? You guys are ready to vote? Okay. If you could please take your piece of paper and mark the one candidate.
The votes are as follows. It is David's turn. 4 votes.
4. Congratulations, and thank you to everyone that came out. It really is impressive how we're all rallying together and we're all here for the better of the town. And so I hope everyone continues to stay involved. We can really use your expertise. Everyone's background is just so impressive and really we can make tremendous strides, to make it even better, right? Because it's already awesome, but to make it even better. So I thank everyone for your time and coming out. Okay, so we'll do the resolution
Yes.
now. Okay.
I move that we approve resolution number 2023-009, appointing David Stern to the Town Commission of Highland Beach, Florida, filling the vacancy of the office of Vice Mayor Commissioner until the next general election.
I second it.
Do we need roll call? Or can we just?
You could do it unanimous, all in favor.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to everyone.
Yeah,
Now we
thank-
need swearing in.
Yes, Swearman.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone. It was either this or golf lessons. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, raise your right hand. I, David Stern,
I, David Stern,
do solemnly affirm
do solemnly affirm
that I will support, protect, and defend
that I will support, protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Florida
and of the state of Florida
against all enemies, domestic or foreign,
against all enemies, domestic or foreign,
and that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same.
and I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same.
And I am entitled to hold office
And I am entitled to hold office
under the Constitution of the United States
under the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Florida,
and the Constitution of the state of Florida,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
all the duties of the office
all of the duties of the office
of Vice Mayor Commissioner
of Vice Mayor Commissioner,
on which I am about to enter.
and which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And sign. Sign.
You want to sign it?
Yes.
Sign away your life.
You can put your face on there.
Thank you, Lynn.
Having a case of deja vu, right?
Okay.
I'm back.
Item 7, announcements. So we have another meeting on Tuesday, March 28th at 1:30, a town commission's special meeting. And so moving on to item 8, town commission comments. So Commissioner Goldberg, would you like to start with comments? Do you have any-
Today's proceeding was just amazing. I mean, the quality of the candidates and just to meet them and to explore what they have to offer and to see the interest in the town is just magnificent, very encouraging and just very pleasing. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have to ditto that. It's amazing all the resumes. I mean, we have some very talented people living in Highland Beach. And I hope you all try to serve in some of the boards or even try to run next March, because we could use you and we'll take all the volunteers we can. Thank you.
Highland Beach is a jewel of a beach town, 3 miles of paradise. We also are very wealthy in the quality and experience of the people who live here. And I'm very happy to see people coming out and offering their services to the town. It's really heartwarming. And I also don't want to see us become a concrete jungle. So thank you, and thank you for everyone else for coming out and listening to this.
Vice Mayor Stern.
Thank you, everyone, and I echo the feelings that everyone in this room, if they can participate in some way, it'll be wonderful for the town. It is a great town, and I just want to add, we also have a great staff as well as the commission, the police department, the water plant. I mean, we've got great people here, and it's great to be part of it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I echo what everybody said, and I have all your phone numbers now. So when these items come up, I hope that I can call on you and tap into your expertise. Really, it's just very impressive. And I thank you again. Town manager, do you have anything, any comments?
Sixth man of the year, huh? I thought it was just the NBA, but we have a commissioner award for that too, though. This is great. I'm glad I have all seats filled to give me direction and guidance as we move forward. Again, I continue to serve at your pleasure and will be here for anything you need. So just let me know. And next week, we kick off the construction manager at risk. I had to put it on a thumb drive that tells you how big the document is. So I apologize if your weekend, I put you to sleep a couple times reading a boring document, but look forward to seeing everybody on Tuesday.
Thank you.
Town attorney?
Just welcome back, Vice Mayor Stern. Good to see you again.
And with that, we adjourn at 3:02. Thank you, everyone. Oh, yeah.